Dreams So Real, they're on tour promoting their first release on Arista Records, entitled Rough Night in Jericho.
That's right.
And Barry Marler, the guitarist from the band, is with me at Peabody's Down Under. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome to Cleveland. And,
thank you.
Now, Dreams So Real is another of hundreds of bands, it seems, that are coming out of Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
Is it really that many bands down there?
Well, there's probably at any given time about, I'd say, 50 maybe. But the sum total is probably thousands. From the beginning of it with the B-52s, which was about 10 or 12 years ago, I guess, there's been a constant turnover of bands, recycling of band members, and new bands forming from the ashes of old ones. And so there's a continual flow of music down there. Very few of them, in terms of the whole scope of bands, have made it out into the world enough to be known, or certainly to be well known. But for a town of that size, I think the success ratio has been real high. It's only maybe 40,000 people in the town, a student body of about maybe 30,000. And you've had B-52s, REM, and us sign major label deals. You've had bands like Love Tractor and Pylon and other less well-known but still cult bands that have come up and had national and even worldwide reputations made. So it's pretty remarkable, I think.
And it seems like the music scene down there is a tightly knit group.
It is.
Like Peter Buck from REM produced your first record.
Yeah, he did. And just as an act of friendly help more than anything, it wasn't like some big, and remember at that time REM wasn't some huge band like they are now, and he was just a guitar player that wanted to continue his musical horizons, or to widen his musical horizons a bit, and he was into the band and just offered to go into the studio with us. And that sort of supportiveness, I think, is one of the things that makes Athens continue to be a vital force in music, because it's not a cutthroat thing. I mean, sure, there are people that are harsh and rude to other bands, but in general, it's a really supportive situation. We were helped and supported along the way early on. We've tried to be the same way with other bands, and that's definitely adds to it. It's not, in a small town like that, it could easily degenerate into some sort of negative soap opera, you know. And I think that people there realize they're lucky to have that sort of thing, and it takes a good attitude on the parts of the bands and musicians and club owners and so forth to keep it vital and keep it moving and flowing. And so, you know, you couldn't ask for a better environment. Athens is overhyped, it's over publicized, but still, in the end, it is very important and very unique, I think.
And of course, you went to LA to record this record. What was the big difference from going to Athens to the big city where the big shots are?
Well, about like the difference from going to South Carolina to Mars or something, I guess. But I'll tell you, there was some reluctance in the record company for us to go out there, because they were afraid that here these three guys from Georgia were going to go out there to LA and they might lose everything they have going for them. You know, go out there and get all starry-eyed, I guess, and go to the oil wrestling clubs every night or something and lose it. But the thing is that we're real serious about what we're doing. Not to the point of taking ourselves too seriously, but we know what we want to do. And I mean, we had a big budget relatively. We had a big block of time, 3 months to do an album. There's no way we're going to go out to LA and blow that. So it was a big change, and none of us had ever been out there other than just changing airplanes or something. But we handled it well. We lived in a western part of LA near Santa Monica, in a little apartment. It was real suburban. The studio was just a few blocks away. Really easy work environment where we could work all day long from like noon to say midnight, come back to our apartment, work 6 days a week, just have a few minutes drive both ways. It was just like a job, a 12-hour-a-day, 6-day-a-week job for 3 months. And it was cool. I think it was the best place we could have done that first album, because all the facilities we needed were there. The producer was from LA, Bill Drescher. He knew the studio, he knows the town, he knows where to get anything that he needs. And our not knowing anything about what we needed at that time, being so green and virginal in the recording process, we just simply said we want to go wherever the producer wants to be. When we find the producer we want, then we'll let him decide where we record. And that was what he wanted to do, and it worked out perfectly.
So you had a good relationship with Drescher?
Definitely, still have a good relationship with him. He's a close friend of mine and the band's, and one of the nicest guys we've ever run across. Supremely talented guy. He knows a bit about everything in terms of instruments and stuff. He's a consummately talented engineer and producer, but he also plays a bit of guitar, a bit of keyboard. He understands harmony and melody and stuff, and it really, really makes a big difference to have someone like that, because he was able to just totally ride over the whole process and be like an umbrella that anything, we knew that anything that came up, Bill could handle. And if it was something he couldn't handle, he knew how to get it handled. So it was great. It was perfect.
Now, Dream So Real is a trio. Tell me about the other two guys.
The other two guys are the bass player and singer Trent Allen and drummer Drew Worsham. Trent is, I don't even want to call him a backup singer, because although I play lead, he and I sing so much together that I think that's one of the things about us that makes us a bit unique and gives us part of what our personality is. He had been a singer before we met. I was a songwriter, but I didn't want to say, well, I'm the lead singer and you just sing a few backup phrases here and there. I wanted to use him as much as possible. And so the evolution of the band has led to our being at a point where I think, probably sing together more than any other. I don't think there's any band around where two guys sing like we do. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's a thing that we do that maybe other people don't do. And Drew, as a drummer, is a perfect trio drummer. He's got a style that is on the surface might not seem unconventional, but when you compare him to other drummers, especially other Athens drummers, there's no comparison. The trio format entails everyone contributing. It's like a triangle almost, like everyone has to be strong and linear to make the thing stand up. So Drew's drumming is not just a rhythm-keeping thing, it's a musical instrument. It's part of the thing. It's like a painter's palette that he can color here and there with and fill in between the cracks, just as the two vocals do and just as the guitar and bass interplay do. So the whole thing has to mesh together. If there's a weak link in a chain of only 3 links, you're seriously up the creek. So, the two of them, I think, are the perfect complements to my songs and the way we work together.
Now, as the band evolved and you started playing maybe to bigger crowds, was there any tinkering you had to do to get the trio that much bigger?
Well, not specifically, but I'll tell you, we did keep in mind the changing things that were going on and the fact that we were becoming less of just a little independent scene bar band and more of a band that had to go out and put on a show and entertain a crowd. And so we started not necessarily rethinking things, but at least thinking along those lines and knowing that we, first and foremost, have to entertain people. And so we looked at some of the songs and some of the ways that we would go from song to song and how the set in general flows as one unit, and that, and as relates to being a trio, is important too. So we looked at that, and I think we're still continually evolving and thinking about that all the time.
I really liked the first album, and I can't wait to hear the second.
Well, thank you. I can't wait to hear it either. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like. I think it's going to be a bit different than this. I think we've painted the general picture, but we've not painted ourselves into a corner, and I think we'll see a bit more experimentation, a bit more styles on there.
Great. Barry Marler, Dream So Real.